Elias! Elias! The voice echoed through the void, pulling me back from wherever I'd gone. My lungs burned. Rain hammered against my skin, cold and unforgiving. I blinked, tasting copper, and realized I was staring up at the sky, black clouds swirling above me like they were deciding whether to swallow me whole. I tried to move. Couldn't. My side screamed in protest, something wet and warm spreading beneath me. Blood. My blood. This is how it ends. Not with a fight. Not with dignity. Just me, sprawled in an alley like trash, while somewhere across the city, my brother danced with the man I loved. I closed my eyes, and the memory came flooding back. The ballroom. Gold chandeliers. Lucien's hand in Dorian's. The way my brother had smiled at me over Lucien's shoulder. Smug, victorious, like he'd won a game I didn't even know we were playing. Did you really think he'd choose you? Dorian had whispered later on the rooftop. His hand on my chest. One push. That's all it took. I didn't scream. I just fell. And now, lying here in the rain, I thought, if I had another chance. The world faded to black. I woke up gasping. Not the slow, groggy kind of waking. The kind where your body jerks upright, heart hammering, convinced you're still falling. My hands clawed at the sheets, cheap cotton, nothing like the silk I remembered, and I sucked in air like I'd been drowning. Where? The room was small. Narrow bed. Bare walls. A single window with thin curtains that let in pale morning light. Military boots sat by the door, laces still tied. A jacket hung on a hook, dark green, weathered, with a patch I didn't recognize. This wasn't my apartment. I swung my legs over the side of the bed, feet hitting cold hardwood. My body felt wrong. No, not wrong. Different, lighter, maybe. Or just foreign, like I'd woken up inside someone else's skin. I stumbled toward the mirror above the dresser. Same face. Same scar cutting through my left brow, a childhood accident Dorian used to mock. Same sharp cheekbones, same dark eyes. But the reflection looked younger somehow. Softer. Like I'd been rewound a few years. What the hell is this? My gaze dropped to the dresser. A framed photo sat there, propped against a stack of folded towels. I picked it up, hands shaking. It was me. In a simple gray suit, nothing fancy. My arm was slung around a man I barely recognized, broad shoulders, military uniform, a scar running along his jaw. He wasn't smiling, but his eyes were soft, like he was looking at something precious. Captain Rowan Vale. The name hit me like a slap. Dorian's ex-husband. The man my brother had paraded around at family dinners for exactly 6 months before discarding him like yesterday's news. I'd never paid attention to him. Why would I? He was quiet. Serious. The kind of man who stood in corners and said nothing while the rest of us talked over champagne. And now, apparently, I was married to him. I dropped the photo. It clattered against the dresser, glass cracking. This isn't real. This can't be real. But my hands were real. The room was real. The ache in my chest, grief, confusion, rage was real. I sank onto the edge of the bed, head in my hands. I died. I know I died. So why am I here? The door opened. I looked up, and there he was. Rowan Vale. Taller than I remembered. Broad-shouldered, solid, the kind of presence that filled a room without trying. He was in fatigues, hair still damp like he'd just showered. His eyes, dark, wary, locked onto mine, and for a moment, neither of us moved. "You're awake," he said. His voice was low, careful, like he was talking to something fragile. I didn't answer. Couldn't. My throat had closed up, words tangling somewhere between my brain and my mouth. He took a step inside, closing the door behind him. Nightmare again? Again. I forced myself to speak. "I don't," my voice cracked. I cleared my throat, tried again. "I don't know." Rowan's expression shifted, something between concern and resignation. He crossed the room, setting a mug on the nightstand. Tea. Steam curled up from the rim. "I made this for you," he said. "You haven't eaten since yesterday." I stared at the mug. Then at him. "I'm not hungry." His jaw tightened. Just barely. But I saw it. Understood. He turned to leave. I should have let him. Should have stayed silent. Let this strange man walk out of the room and leave me alone to figure out what the hell was happening. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the way his shoulders sagged, just a little, like he'd expected my rejection. Like he was used to it. "Rowan." He paused, hand on the doorknob. Didn't turn around. "Why?" I swallowed. "Why did you marry me?" Before I tell you what happened next, subscribe to Starry-Eyed Lovers. And tell me, have you ever been betrayed by family? Comment where you're watching from. He didn't answer right away. Just stood there, back to me, shoulders tense beneath the fabric of his shirt. Finally, he said, because you needed someone. His voice was so quiet I almost didn't hear it. And I thought. He exhaled, slow and deliberate. I thought maybe we could be enough. He left before I could respond. The door clicked shut, and I was alone again. I stared at the mug of tea. The letter on the table caught my eye, white envelope, gold trim. I picked it up, fingers trembling. Invitation to the engagement gala. Sender, Dorian Vale. My brother. The man who killed me. I opened it. Elegant script. You are cordially invited to celebrate the union of Dorian Vale and Lucien Ashford. Lucien. My fiancé. The man I'd loved for 3 years. The man who'd chosen Dorian over me without a second thought. The paper crumpled in my fist. So it begins again. But this time I wasn't the fool. This time, I knew exactly who my enemies were. And this time, I had something I didn't have before. I glanced at the door Rowan had just walked through. A stranger husband who thinks I'm worth saving. I didn't know if I believed him. Didn't know if I wanted to believe him. But I knew one thing for certain. I wasn't going to die quietly this time. The next morning, I found Rowan in the kitchen. He stood by the stove, flipping eggs with the kind of precision that screamed military training. His movements were efficient, economical, no wasted energy. He didn't notice me at first, too focused on the pan. I cleared my throat. He turned, spatula still in hand. Morning. Morning, I echoed. My voice sounded rusty. He gestured to the table. Sit. Breakfast is almost ready. I sat. Watched him work. He plated the eggs, added toast, poured coffee, black, no sugar. Set it in front of me without a word. You didn't have to, I said. I wanted to. I picked up the fork. Took a bite. It was good. Simple but good. Rowan sat across from me, cradling his own mug. He didn't eat. Just watched me with that same cautious expression, like he was waiting for something to break. I'm going to the gala, I said. His mug stopped halfway to his mouth. What? Dorian's engagement gala. I'm going. He set the mug down. Elias. That's not a good idea. I don't care. They'll humiliate you. Us. I met his gaze. Let them try. Silence stretched between us. Rowan's jaw worked, like he was chewing on words he didn't want to say. Finally, he nodded. Then I'm going with you. You don't have to. I said I'm going. His voice was firm. Final. I'll be with you. Always. Something in my chest tightened. I didn't know what to do with that. With him. So I just nodded. Okay. You're making a mistake. Rowan stood in the doorway of our bedroom, arms crossed, watching me fumble with my tie. I'd been wrestling with the damn thing for 5 minutes, fingers clumsy with nerves I refused to acknowledge. It's just a party, I said, not looking at him. It's not just a party. His voice was flat. It's a stage. And Dorian loves an audience. I yanked the tie loose, started over. Then I'll give him a show. Rowan didn't move. Didn't argue. Just stood there, radiating disapproval like a stone wall. I could feel his gaze burning into my back, measuring, judging. Finally, he pushed off the doorframe. Let me. I froze. What? The tie. He crossed the room in 3 strides, hands already reaching for the silk around my neck. You're choking yourself. I should have stepped back. Should have told him I could manage. But I didn't. I just stood there, stiff as a board, while Rowan's fingers worked the fabric with the kind of precision that made my chest tighten. He was close. Too close. I could smell him, soap and something woodsy, clean and sharp. His breath ghosted across my collarbone as he adjusted the knot, and I had to force myself not to flinch. There, he said, smoothing the tie flat against my chest. His hand lingered. Just for a second. Then he stepped back, eyes meeting mine. You look good. I swallowed. Thanks. He nodded, jaw tight. I'll get the car. The drive to the gala was silent. Rowan kept his eyes on the road, hands steady on the wheel. I stared out the window, watching the city blur past, storefronts and streetlights bleeding into one another until I couldn't tell where we were anymore. My mind kept circling back to the last time I'd attended one of Dorian's events. The last time I'd walked into a room full of people who smiled to my face and whispered behind my back. The last time I'd seen Lucien. Don't think about him. But I couldn't help it. Lucien had been my anchor. My future. The one thing I'd built my life around. And Dorian had taken him without even trying. Elias. I blinked, pulling myself back to the present. Rowan was watching me, concern etched into the lines of his face. "We don't have to do this," he said. "We can turn around. Go home." Home, like this cramped apartment with its second-hand furniture and peeling wallpaper, was supposed to be my home. "No," I said. "I need to see them." Rowan's grip on the wheel tightened. "They'll hurt you." "They already did." His mouth opened. Closed. He looked like he wanted to say something, argue, maybe, or try to talk sense into me, but he just nodded. "Okay," he said quietly. "But I'm staying with you. The whole time." I didn't answer. Just turned back to the window. The gala was everything I remembered. Worse even. Chandeliers dripped crystal light across marble floors. Champagne flutes clinked like wind chimes. Women in silk gowns and men in tailored suits drifted through the ballroom, their laughter too bright, too sharp, like they were all performing for an invisible camera. I felt every eye turn toward us the moment we walked in. Rowan's hand found the small of my back, steady grounding, and I hated how much I needed it. "Breathe," he murmured. I did. Once. Twice. Then I straightened my spine and walked into the lion's den. Dorian found us within minutes. Of course he did. He had a sixth sense for weakness, could smell blood in the water from a mile away. He glided across the ballroom like he owned it. And maybe he did, now that he had Lucien's money behind him. "Elias." His smile was all teeth. "I didn't think you'd come." I forced my expression into something neutral. "Wouldn't miss it." His gaze slid to Rowan, and his smile sharpened. "Captain Vale. Still playing the loyal soldier, I see." Rowan didn't react. Didn't even blink. Just stood there, immovable, one hand still resting against my back. "Dorian," he said evenly. Dorian's eyes flicked between us, calculating. "Interesting. I never took you for the charitable type, Rowan. Tell me, how does it feel taking in my brother's scraps?" Something hot and vicious flared in my chest. I opened my mouth to spit venom, but Rowan spoke first. "Your brother," he said, voice low and deliberate, "is worth more than you'll ever understand." The words hit like a slap. Dorian's smile faltered. Just for a second. Then it snapped back into place, sharper than before. "How sweet," he purred. "You've trained him well, Elias. Does he sit on command too?" "Watch your mouth," I said, voice cold enough to frost glass. Dorian laughed. "Or what? You'll fight me? Please. You couldn't even keep Lucien. What makes you think you can keep him?" He gestured toward Rowan, dismissive, like he was pointing at a piece of furniture. Rowan's hand tightened against my back. A warning. Or maybe a lifeline. I couldn't tell. "Come on," Rowan said quietly. "Let's go." But I didn't move. Couldn't. Because across the room, standing by the champagne fountain, was Lucien. He looked exactly the same. Golden hair. Perfect smile. The kind of beauty that made you forget how to breathe. He was talking to someone, some investor, probably, but his gaze caught mine, and for a moment, the world tilted. He looked confused. Then something else. Something I couldn't name. Dorian followed my gaze and smirked. "Ah, there he is. Want me to call him over? I'm sure he'd love to say hello. Would you forgive someone who mistook your pain for love? Comment below." Before I could answer, Lucien was already walking toward us. My heart hammered against my ribs. I wanted to run. Wanted to disappear. But Rowan's hand was still on my back, anchoring me, and I realized with sudden clarity that I wasn't alone this time. "Elias," Lucien said, stopping a few feet away. His voice was smooth, polished, the same voice that used to whisper my name in the dark. "I didn't expect to see you here." "Disappointed?" I asked, sharper than I meant to. He blinked, startled. "No, of course not. His gaze shifted to Rowan. "You're married?" "Yes," Rowan said before I could answer. His tone was flat, final. Lucien's brow furrowed. "To him?" He said it like Rowan was something distasteful. Something beneath us. And just like that, the last thread of whatever I'd felt for Lucien snapped. "Yes," I said, stepping closer to Rowan. "To him." Lucien's expression flickered. Confusion, maybe, or disbelief. "But he's..." "Decorated military captain," Rowan interrupted, voice calm but edged with steel. "Veteran of 3 tours. Recipient of the Silver Star. And Elias's husband." He paused. "In case you forgot." The crowd around us had gone quiet. I could feel their eyes, their judgment, pressing in from all sides. Lucien's mouth opened. Closed. He looked at Dorian, who just shrugged, amused. "Well," Lucien said finally, forcing a smile. "Congratulations, then." He turned and walked away without another word. Dorian lingered, that smirk still plastered across his face. Touching, he said. Really. But you know what they say, Elias, you can dress up trash, but it's still trash. He leaned in, close enough that I could smell his cologne. Expensive, cloying. He'll realize it soon enough. And when he does, you'll be right back where you started. Alone. Then he was gone, disappearing into the crowd like smoke. Rowan didn't speak until we were back in the car. He sat in the driver's seat, hands gripping the wheel, knuckles white. His jaw was locked, teeth grinding together so hard I thought they might crack. Rowan, don't, he said, voice tight. Just don't. I didn't know what to say. Didn't know how to fix this. So I just sat there, useless, while he stared straight ahead. Finally, he exhaled, long, shaky, like he'd been holding his breath the entire drive. I'm sorry, he said. I frowned. For what? For not being enough. The words punched the air out of my lungs. What are you talking about? He laughed, bitter and broken. You heard your brother. You saw the way they looked at me. I'm not like them, Elias. I don't have money or status or... He broke off, shaking his head. I'm just a soldier. And you deserve better. Stop. He didn't. Dorian's right. You're only with me because you had no other choice. And one day you're going to wake up and realize. Stop. I grabbed his wrist, forcing him to look at me. You think I didn't have a choice? My voice was shaking. You think I'm here because I have nowhere else to go? His eyes searched mine, desperate and disbelieving. I chose you, I said. Maybe not at first. Maybe not for the right reasons. But I'm choosing you now. He stared at me like I'd just spoken a foreign language. Why? He whispered. Because you defended me tonight. Because you stood with me when no one else would. Because... I swallowed, the words catching in my throat. Because you make me feel like I matter. His breath hitched. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then Rowan's hand covered mine, warm and rough and impossibly gentle. You do matter, he said, voice raw. You always have. We drove home in silence. But this time it wasn't empty. This time his hand stayed on mine the entire way. The apartment felt different when we walked in. Smaller, maybe. Or just quieter, like the world outside had been stripped away and all that was left was us. Rowan poured 2 glasses of whiskey without asking. Handed me one. Our fingers brushed, and I felt it, electric, undeniable. To surviving, he said, raising his glass. I clinked mine against his. To surviving. We drank in silence. Then Rowan set his glass down, running a hand through his hair. Dorian used to bring me to those events, he said quietly. Back when we were married. But he never introduced me. Never stood with me. He'd just leave me in corners. Like I was decoration. My chest tightened. Tonight, he continued, voice soft, you stood with me. You defended us. And I. He looked at me, eyes shining. I don't know what to do with that. I set my glass down. Took a step closer. You don't have to do anything, I said. Just stay. His breath caught. Elias. Stay, I repeated. Please. He didn't answer. Just closed the distance between us, his hand coming up to cup my face. Okay, he whispered. I'll stay. You're doing it wrong. I looked up from the stove, spatula in hand, to find Rowan leaning against the doorframe. He was in civilian clothes, gray Henley-worn jeans. And for the first time since I'd woken up in this life, he looked relaxed. I'm making eggs, I said. How hard can it be? He crossed the room, stopping beside me. Close enough that I could feel the heat radiating off him. You're burning them. I glanced down. He was right. The edges were blackening, smoke curling up from the pan. Damn it. Rowan reached over, turning down the heat. His arm brushed mine, and I went still. He didn't pull away. Just stood there, close enough that I could count the freckles on his forearm. Low and slow, he said quietly. That's the trick. I swallowed. Low and slow. He nodded, then stepped back, giving me space. But the warmth lingered. Breakfast became our ritual. Every morning, I'd wake to the smell of coffee. Rowan would already be up, moving through the kitchen with military precision. And every morning, I'd join him. Awkward at first, unsure of my place in this strange domesticity. But slowly, it became easier. He taught me how to flip pancakes without splattering batter everywhere. I taught him that toast didn't need to be charred to be edible. We fell into a rhythm, quiet, comfortable, punctuated by the clink of mugs and the soft scrape of forks against plates. One morning, he handed me his tie. Help me with this? I blinked. You want me to? You've been watching me do it for weeks, he said, mouth quirking. Thought you might want to try. I took the tie, fingers fumbling with the silk. Rowan stood perfectly still, patient, while I looped and tucked and tried to remember the sequence he'd shown me. "Tighter," he murmured, "or it'll slip." I pulled the knot snug, then smoothed the fabric against his chest. My hand lingered, just for a second, long enough to feel his heartbeat, steady, strong, beneath my palm. When I looked up, his eyes were on me. Dark. Unreadable. "Perfect," he said. The nightmares started 2 weeks later. I woke to the sound of Rowan thrashing, sheets tangled around his legs, sweat soaking through his shirt. His breath came in short, ragged gasps like he was drowning. "Rowan." He didn't respond, just kept fighting invisible demons, hands clawing at nothing. I grabbed his shoulder, shook him gently. "Rowan, wake up." His eyes snapped open, wild, unfocused. For a moment, he didn't see me. Just stared, chest heaving, lost somewhere I couldn't follow. Then recognition flickered. His body went slack. "Elias," he whispered, voice hoarse. "I'm here." He closed his eyes, jaw tight. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." "Don't." I sat on the edge of the bed, hand still on his shoulder. "Don't apologize." He laughed, bitter and broken. "I woke you up. I don't care." Silence stretched between us. Then Rowan sat up, running a hand through his damp hair. He looked wrecked, hollowed out, like the nightmare had carved something essential out of him. "It was the ambush," he said quietly. "The one that killed my unit." I didn't speak, just waited. "We were supposed to be safe," he continued. "Intel said the route was clear. But they were waiting for us. 8 men. Good men." His voice cracked. "I'm the only one who made it out." My chest tightened. "That's not your fault. Isn't it?" He looked at me, eyes raw. "I was the captain. Their safety was my responsibility. You can't control everything. I should have seen it coming." "Rowan, I dream about them," he said, voice barely above a whisper. "Every night. They're calling for me, and I can't reach them. I can't save them." I didn't think. Just reached out, covering his hand with mine. "You're not alone," I said. "Not anymore." He stared at our hands, his rough and scarred, mine smooth and uncertain. Then he turned his palm up, fingers threading through mine. "Why are you being kind to me?" he asked. "Because I'm tired of hate." His grip tightened. "What if I don't deserve it?" "You do." I squeezed back. "You always have." The next morning, I told him about my nightmares. Not the truth, I couldn't. Not yet. But a version of it. The betrayal. The fall. The feeling of drowning in a life I didn't choose. Rowan listened without interrupting. When I finished, he just nodded. "Sounds familiar," he said. I frowned. "What do you mean?" He set down his mug, eyes distant. "Dorian. When we were married, he'd test me. Little cruelties. Leaving me at events. Forgetting my birthday. Telling me I wasn't enough." He paused. "I stayed because I thought if I just tried harder, he'd see me. But he never did." My throat tightened. "I'm sorry." "Don't be." He met my gaze. "It taught me something." "What?" "That love shouldn't feel like drowning." The words hung in the air between us, heavy and fragile. I wanted to say something, anything, but before I could, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I opened the message. My blood turned to ice. "Enjoying your new life, little brother? Don't get too comfortable. D." Attached was a photo. Rowan and me leaving the gala. Circled in red. Rowan saw my expression. "What is it?" I showed him the screen. His jaw clenched. "He's watching us." "Looks like it." "What do you want to do?" I stared at the photo. At Rowan's hand on my back. At the way we stood together, solid, unshakable. "Nothing," I said. "Let him watch." 3 days later, the story broke. Military hero accused of embezzling veteran funds. The headline was everywhere. News sites. Social media. Someone had leaked documents, falsified, but convincing, claiming Rowan had siphoned money from a charity he'd founded for wounded soldiers. I found him sitting on the couch, laptop open, staring at the screen with dead eyes. "It's not true," he said flatly. "None of it." "I know. They're saying I stole from my own men." His voice was hollow. "That I'm a fraud." I sat beside him. "We'll prove it." "Will." "No." He closed the laptop. "You don't understand. This will destroy everything. My career. My reputation. The charity." He looked at me broken. "I've spent 10 years building trust. And Dorian just erased it." My hands curled into fists. "He won't get away with this. He already has." "No." I grabbed Rowan's face, forcing him to look at me. "Listen to me. I know my brother. I know how he works. And I know how to beat him." Rowan's breath hitched. How? By doing what he never expects. I pulled out my phone. By fighting back. It took me 2 days to find the paper trail. Dorian had been careless, arrogant really. He'd funneled the embezzled money through shell companies. But he'd used the same offshore accounts he'd used in my past life. Accounts I knew about. Accounts I could trace. I handed the evidence to a journalist I remembered from before. A woman named Miranda who hated corruption more than she loved breathing. Run it, I said. She looked at the files, eyes widening. This is proof, I finished. That Dorian Vale is the real thief. She grinned. I'll have it published by tomorrow. The story went live at dawn. Philanthropist's dark secret. Dorian Vale accused of fraud. The evidence was damning. Bank records. Emails. Testimonies from victims. Within hours, Dorian's carefully constructed empire began to crumble. Rowan's name was cleared by noon. I found him on the balcony, staring at the city. He didn't turn when I approached. It's over, I said. Is it? His voice was soft. Or did we just make it worse? Dorian won't come after us again. He can't. Rowan finally looked at me. His eyes were wet. You did this. For me. Yes. Why? Because you matter. He shook his head, laughing, raw and disbelieving. You keep saying that. Because it's true. He stepped closer. Close enough that I could see the gold flecks in his eyes. Elias. Before I could respond, the doorbell rang. We both froze. Rowan moved first, crossing to the door. He opened it and went still. Lucien stood in the hallway. Perfect hair. Perfect suit. Perfect smile. Elias, he said. We need to talk. Have you ever loved again after loss? Share your story in the comments. You need to leave. Rowan's voice was steel. He stood in the doorway, blocking Lucien's path, every inch the soldier, spine straight, shoulders squared, ready for war. Lucien's smile didn't waver. I'm not here to cause trouble. I just want to talk to Elias. He doesn't want to talk to you. Let him decide that. I stepped forward, hand on Rowan's arm. It's okay. Rowan's jaw clenched. Elias. It's okay, I repeated, quieter this time. I need to do this. He held my gaze for a long moment, searching. Then he nodded, stepping aside. But he didn't leave. Just crossed his arms and leaned against the wall, watching. Lucien walked in, movements smooth and practiced. He looked around the apartment, taking in the worn furniture, the cramped kitchen, the life I'd built in his absence, and something flickered across his face. Pity, maybe. Or disdain. So this is where you've been hiding, he said. I'm not hiding. No. He turned to me, eyes soft in that way that used to make my heart race. Because it looks like you've been running. My hands curled into fists. What do you want, Lucien? He stepped closer. Too close. I made a mistake. The words hit like a punch to the gut. A mistake, I repeated, voice flat. Yes. He reached for my hand. I pulled away, choosing Dorian over you. It was the worst decision of my life. Rowan's breath hitched behind me. I didn't turn. Couldn't. You're only saying that because Dorian's ruined now, I said. Because the money's gone. Lucien flinched. That's not. Isn't it? I laughed, bitter and broken. You didn't want me, Lucien. You wanted what I represented. Security. Status. A future you could show off at parties. I took a step back. But I was never enough on my own. That's not true. Yes, it is. My voice cracked. And you know what? I'm done pretending it wasn't. Lucien's composure slipped. Just for a second. Then he glanced at Rowan, lips curling into something cruel. So you traded me for him? He gestured dismissively. A soldier with no money? No connections? What kind of future can he give you? A real one. The words came out before I could stop them. Lucien stared at me, stunned. You can't be serious. I am. I looked at Rowan, really looked at him. At the way he stood, tense and protective, like he'd fight the world if I asked. At the way his eyes softened when they met mine. He gave me something you never did. What's that? A home. Silence crashed down like a wave. Lucien's face twisted. You're making a mistake, Elias. He's not like us. He doesn't understand our world. Good, I said. Because I don't want that world anymore. Lucien opened his mouth. Closed it. Then he shook his head, laughing softly, defeated, hollow. You've changed, he said. I died, I replied. And I came back different. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he turned and walked to the door. Before leaving, he looked back. I hope you don't regret this. I won't. The door clicked shut. Rowan didn't move. Didn't speak. Just stood there, eyes locked on mine, chest rising and falling like he'd run a marathon. Did you mean it? He asked, voice barely above a whisper. Mean what? That I gave you a home. I crossed the room, stopping inches away. Close enough to see the vulnerability in his eyes. The fear that I'd take it back, say it was just words meant to hurt Lucien. Yes, I said. I meant it. His breath shuddered out. Elias, I need to tell you something. The words tumbled out before I could stop them. Something I should have told you from the beginning. His brow furrowed. What is it? I hesitated. This was it. The moment I'd been avoiding. The truth that could shatter everything. I'm not who you think I am. What are you talking about? My throat closed up. I remember things. Things that haven't happened yet. Or, I shook my head. Things that happened in another life. Rowan went very still. Another life. I know how it sounds. But it's true. The words spilled out, desperate and frantic. I was engaged to Lucien. Dorian stole him. Then Dorian killed me. And I woke up here. Married to you. And my voice broke. I didn't know what to do. I was angry. I wanted revenge. But then you. Elias. His hands cupped my face, stopping the spiral. Breathe. I sucked in air, shaking. I don't care, he said. I blinked. What? I don't care if you remember another life. I don't care if you married me for the wrong reasons. His thumbs brushed my cheekbones, gentle and grounding. All I care about is right now. This moment. You and me. Tears burned behind my eyes. How can you say that? Because I've been in love with you since the first time I saw you. The world stopped. What? Rowan's smile was soft, sad. It was at a family dinner. Years ago. You were arguing with Dorian about something. Charity work, I think. And you were so passionate. So alive. He laughed quietly. I couldn't look away. My chest tightened. But you never. I was married to your brother. And you were engaged. What was I supposed to do? He shook his head. So I stayed quiet. Watched you from a distance. And when Dorian left me, I thought that was it. I'd never see you again. But then I showed up, I whispered. Then you showed up. His forehead pressed against mine. And I got a second chance. Even if you didn't remember. Even if you hated me at first. I got to be near you. And that was enough. Rowan. I love you, Elias. His voice cracked. I've loved you through every version of this life. And if you'll let me, I'll keep loving you through whatever comes next. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Could only feel the weight of his words, the truth of them, pressing into every broken part of me. I don't deserve you, I said. Yes, you do. I used you. You chose me. His grip tightened. When Lucien came here, offering you everything you lost, you chose me. That's all that matters. Tears spilled over. I didn't stop them. I'm scared, I admitted. I don't know how to do this. How to love someone without losing myself. Then we'll figure it out together. I looked at him, really looked at him. At the man who'd stood by me when no one else would. Who'd defended me, protected me, loved me, even when I didn't deserve it. And I realized I didn't want to go back. Didn't want the life I'd lost, the future I'd planned with Lucien. I wanted this. Him. Us. I love you. I said, the words raw and terrifying and true. Rowan's eyes widened. You. I love you, I repeated louder this time. I don't know when it started. Maybe that night after the gala. Maybe when you made me breakfast. Maybe. I laughed, shaky and breathless. Maybe it was always you. In every version of this life. I was just too blind to see it. He kissed me. Desperate. Honest. Years of longing poured into one fragile moment. His hands tangled in my hair, pulling me closer, like he was afraid I'd disappear. And I kissed him back, pouring every apology, every promise, every piece of myself I'd kept hidden into the space between us. When we finally broke apart, both gasping, he pressed his forehead to mine. Stay with me, he whispered. For real this time. Always, I promised. 2 weeks later, the letter arrived. Cream envelope. Gold seal. My past life family crest stamped in wax. Rowan found me staring at it, hands shaking. What is it? He asked. I broke the seal. Read the single line inside. You think you've escaped? The game has just begun. See you soon, cousin. Cousin. I didn't have a cousin. Or did I? I looked at Rowan, and something cold settled in my chest. It's not over, I said. He took my hand, steady and sure. Then we face it together. I nodded, folding the letter. Whatever came next, Whoever this mystery person was, I wasn't afraid. Because I wasn't alone anymore.